Wir werden jetzt von den Netzen, wenden wir uns den Daten zu und der Frage, was geht digital eigentlich? Dazu haben wir Mihkel Härm eingeladen. Mihkel Härm ist von der Eesti Energia AS. Und Sie wissen sicherlich alle, dass in Estland die Digitalisierung ganz besonders groß geschrieben wird. Und Herr Härm wird uns jetzt berichten, wie das im Bereich Energie vorangeht. Bevor Herr Härm Partner Relations Manager bei Eesti Energy war er 3 Jahre lang Generalsekretär des World Energy Council in Estland. Und Mihkel, the stage is yours.
Hi. And thank you for the kind introduction. As said, I am working for the Estonian national utility company, Eesti Energia. My name is Mihkel Härm, and I'm the partner relations manager there. And on this picture, you can actually see the yesterday of the energy sector. This is the heart of our company. This is our oil plant on the left side. This is our power plant and our newest power plant. But as we here today are talking about the transformation, the move to the new energy sector, then these assets are actually the ones that we still need to get there. As in Wittenberg you had the brown coal, in Estonia we have the oil shale, which is really similar to that. Of course, this has a lot of CO2 emissions, but these assets still will be the backbone of the transition. We will need these ones as long as we don't have the new system in place. And as I arrived here and then spoke to my nice German colleagues here, I understood that Estonia might not be as big as we think in Estonia. I don't have a slide about that, so I just give you a quick fact or a few facts about Estonia. The first one is that we are a really small country when it comes to population. Estonia has only 1.3 million people, so this is a lot smaller than Berlin, for example. Our capital, Tallinn, has 400,000 people, so this might be considered as a microgrid in some parts of the world. Yeah, I checked from Wikipedia that Wittenberg has 50,000, so this would be the third biggest city in Estonia. But also the scales that we are talking about in Estonia, in Germany, in US, these are really different, and this we need to bear in mind. But still, I believe that we have managed to carry out many transitions that could be helpful lessons to other countries. Here I added a few facts about our company. We are the biggest energy company in Estonia. We have almost 6,000 employees, and we are actually active in 9 markets. We are selling electricity in all of the countries that are around the Baltic Sea. We are selling oil on global markets. We are also active in Jordan, and also in the US, where we have many developments. And we have invested over 2.5 billion euros in the last 10 years. Big part has gone into the traditional energy business, but a lot has also gone to the renewables and distribution grid. And here on the bottom you can see the 5 key areas of our strategy. And I'm quite proud to say that renewables is one of the 5. We see the renewable energy as the new backbone of our company. On the next slide, you can see all the different energy resources that we are using. Starting from the left top corner, this is the oil shale. This is the rock that I'm talking about. Really similar to brown coal, has a lot of CO2 emissions, but this is the resource that we have. This is basically we have 2, maybe 3 big energy resources in Estonia. These are the oil shale, this is biomass, and this is wind. And these three we are all using. So first oil shale, then we have also started to do big solar projects. Big for us is 1 megawatt, so we are still getting to the bigger scale. Next we have peat. Peat we are using because this is what we have traditionally used, but the usage is going down year by year. We also have some small hydro plants, but the hydro capacity is really limited in Estonia because our tallest mountain is 300 meters from the sea. So we are a really flat country, not a big potential for hydro. Then we have the wind parks, and this wind park actually was built on an old ash field next to the old power plants. The ash field was, nothing grows on there, so we had to find a good usage. And as it is quite high, putting windmills on it was a really good choice. Then we also are utilizing waste-to-energy plants and also using wood chips. So this is what we are generating energy from. And when I say energy, then I don't mean only electricity. Electricity is the core of our business, but we are also producing oil from oil shale, gas also from oil shale, and heat. And heat we are selling in Estonia and in Latvia as well. This slides, when I before talked about where we are right now, then this slide shows where we want to be in 2021. And the most important is in the middle of the picture. There you can see that by 2021, we want to have at least 40% of our generated energy coming from alternative sources. For us, alternative means other than oil shale. And right now we are at 90% of our generated energy is from oil shale. Then by 2021, we want to move where only 60% is oil shale and 40% is other sources. This will be wind, biomass, but also solar, because we are doing many big solar projects in Poland and also in Ukraine, where there is much more sun than in Estonia. And we are also looking at solar projects in the US, where we first wanted to develop oil shale projects, but then the oil price was not so favorable anymore. But then we saw that Utah has a lot of sun. Why not build some PV parks there? And of course, everything digital and everything tied to customer services will be the core of our business as well. And when we were thinking up this new strategy for our next 4 years, this actually goes to 2030, but the 4 years, then we saw that there are actually 3 big revolutions going on. The first one is everything tied to the environment. In the EU, we have a long history of implementing strict rules when it comes to emissions. We have a history of having very long-term climate targets up to 2050. But as we are selling oil and many of our markets are in Africa, in Asia, and you would think that the Chinese, the Indians, they don't care about the environment, but actually they have almost the same regulations as we do here. So this is a myth that only EU is having really strict environmental regulations. This is happening everywhere in the world. We might be the ones that are leading the race, but others are not far behind. So this is something that we as an energy company need to take into account. Next big change is the technology change. Already we see that offshore wind parks don't require any subsidies. We see that PV is actually the cheapest electricity source in many of the sunny countries. And this actually has implications up north in Estonia as well. We see many customers installing their own PV on their roof. And actually this is also something change in the mindset. People feel that they want to be part of the energy system. They want to produce their own just for the sake of producing their own. And this then leads to the markets that are changing. When 15, 20 years ago, being in a utility was a really easy job. You just negotiated the price with the government. Everybody had to buy from you. You just generated and you took the margin. It wasn't a bad business at all. But at first, then the power market was opened. But now the grid is also becoming a market where we as a grid owner need to be competitive on the market with the distributed sources. We cannot force the customer to be in our grid if they don't want to. If it's cheaper for them to supply their own energy, then this is what they will do. So we need to keep the base, and also we need to reduce our costs. And actually, this digitalization is something that has helped us reduce the costs in the grid. And I put a picture of Charles Darwin here. I should have put in a picture of Luther, but I had a better story with Darwin here. So he obviously is famous for the phrase of the survival of the fittest, and well, explaining why Estonia is a leader in digital services, in digitalization, is also tied to the survival of the fittest. We want to be our own country. We are 1.3 million people, but at the same time, we want to have our own language-based universities. We want to have our own military. We want to have our own government. Everything we want to have our own. And this we need to finance with the revenues from 1.3 million people. So this means we need to be really efficient. And using these digital services helps us be really efficient. And this, I believe, is the survival of the fittest. Here you can see the last 20 years of the e-Estonia, as we like to call it. It started with the internet banking already in 1996. Then in 1999, our company had the first electronic invoice for electricity. And then we moved to having this self-service internet-based platform. And then 2005, for example, we had the first e-elections, meaning that you didn't need to go to the voting booth. You could vote for the government elections from your home. Today, you can do it from your mobile phone. You can just wake up in the morning, remember, oh, it's the voting day today. Where's my phone? I'll cast my vote. You can do your taxes online. You basically never need to go to the government building, because most of the things you can do online. And if you then need to get your driver's license, for example, then even that is being sent to you by post. So you can do much of the things using these electronic services. And in the really right-hand side, we have the smart DSO that I will be talking about in more detail, and also the app for business to business and business to consumer customers. And now, coming from the wider picture to our own company and how we are using these e-services or e-energy in our company. First is the large-scale energy. This is the big power plants, the oil plants. But even there, we can see that using these new big data-based solutions helps us reduce costs and makes us more competitive. We have made our own this pilot trading platform that uses blockchain and can automate trades between participants. This is still in lab testing. We are doing it with one of the universities in Estonia. but also this energy trading that is happening on the market, this is actually almost there already. Because most of the trading on Nord Pool market, where Estonia is part of, is automatic. In the grid, we are using big data analysis to find ways to optimize the grid. And in the customer services, we try to be really innovative when moving to new markets. We just went to Finland and Sweden, and the old market participants have their whole big service networks, sales networks. We don't have any of that. And how we try to get customers is by being really innovative, being really new, using all this latest technology. And the same we are also using in our company. All of the data has been moved to the cloud. Basically, you don't need to send attachments with emails anymore and all this. But in the bottom right corner is, of course, the big drawback of being internet-based and digital. This is the cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is something that I believe people are talking about, but they are not taking this seriously enough. And not taking this seriously enough can really have big impacts that should be avoided at all costs. And then, of course, you have the data from all these sensors that are in the power plants, the smart meters, but the data itself is useless unless it is used in a way that brings value. And so already in 2015, we made a company-wide study in our company together with PwC. And we really tried to find ways where we gather data, but we are not using it in a sensible way. And we started from the mining and went all the way to our KPIs, where we measure our office workers. And we actually found many interesting ways how we could use the data better. Here I put just one example. This is the logistics in mining oil shale. We had been doing this for 80 years already, so people managing these mines thought that they know what they are doing. But actually, when you really look into the process, you then see that this is not efficient. We didn't have good monitoring of the trucks driving in the mines. So we found there ways that if you optimize the trajectories, you can save some fuel. Then when you mine oil shale or any other brown coal or other coal, then this is not a uniform resource. One place you have more energy in the rock, other place you have more sulfur, so on. And now, actually, when we implemented this real-time monitoring of the rock that we mine, and then we implemented also a system that then separates the rock into better categories, then we could use this better separated rock in the right place. For example, the high energy content rock we send into oil plants, because then we get a lot more oil. The lower energy content rock we send into power plants, because there it doesn't matter so much. And well, here only in the logistic process we haven't really realized this 20 to 30% yet, but already we have 10% efficiency gains just by optimizing the process. And also using data but here also more machines, we have been able to reduce the number of miners in our mines from 10,000 to 2,000. But the amount of rock that they mine is still the same. And now you might wonder why this is important in the sense of moving to these new energy systems. Then this is actually a way how the old energy can stay competitive with the new energy. If the old energy system can reduce costs that much, then this means that they have a longer lifespan. And as I started, this old energy is actually important for moving to the new one. So reducing costs in the old energy system helps us keep the system alive so that we can transform it better. Here, I would like to point out that this data that we also use in this transmission system operator. In Estonia, we have one central data hub that all of the consumption data goes. So this is, of course, good and bad. For us, as an energy seller, this is good because all the consumption data is one point, so every electricity seller can get the consumption data from there. If you want to start a electricity selling company in Estonia, then this is really easy. First, you go online, you fill out the application. This takes 1 to 2 hours. You have a company. You have registered a new company in less than 2 hours. Then you contact the DSO saying that you want to start selling electricity. Then they say, okay, they give you the access to the system. And now you contact the customer. The customer then says, okay, you can get my data from the data hub. And now you have the consumption data. You know how much you need to sell this customer. You can prepare the proposal. If the customer says, okay, your proposal is good enough, then you can start selling electricity. First, then you need, of course, find the way to get this electricity that you sell, but this is another issue. But starting a company and getting the data, this is really easy. This same digitalization is happening in the distribution system as well. Here are all of the possible ways how to use the data in the distribution system. And the most important one, I would say, is network loss. This has been reduced. I later have one slide going into more detail about this as well. And then monitoring as well. We have central monitoring system, and we can see the faults happening in real time. And we can also prevent the faults because we have a system that tells us, look, in this part of the system, the distribution system, transformers are not working as they should. There might be some issue with the transformer. This is not, there isn't a fault yet, but the fault might come. So there is a prediction built into the system. And then we can have the preventative maintenance, meaning that we prevent the faults from happening. Now about the system balancing. On the picture again, we have the big power plant, but thanks to the smart meters and thanks to the distributed system, we don't actually need to balance the system with these big power plants anymore. We can, in the distribution system, we can use the consumption data and the ability to control the load so that we don't have the really high peaks. And this actually enables to reduce a lot of the costs. And then when we move to the big power plant, then there again, because we get the data from the distribution system, we can better predict how much the power needs to be produced in these big plants. So you get win on the other hand, and on the other, on both of the cases, you get reduction in costs. And here is another example why this big data is good. On the map, you have Estonia, and all the red dots are consumption points, where in the last year, the total consumption was less than 50 kilowatt hours. So you might think why this is important, but each this consumption point needs to be online all the time, but we get money from the customer only when they consume electricity, because we don't have any fixed fee. And now we have two options, whether we implement a fixed fee, saying that this service that we offer you, the customer, this is a service. You need to pay for the fact that you are connected to the grid, and then the grid is working all the time. The other option is what we are also looking at, that maybe we don't need the grid there. Maybe there are some of these red dots represent the place where the customer only is a couple of hours a year. Maybe then we can have some kind of wireless alternative, some kind of battery-based system, PV plus battery. Or if the customer has an electric car, then these might be business cases for vehicle to grid. If the customer is going to his summer house only in summer, when you don't need heating in Estonia, when you don't need lights in Estonia because there is sunlight for many, many hours and it really gets dark, maybe the customer doesn't really want to look at TV or cook, wants to just enjoy the nature, then he only needs a couple of kilowatt hours when he goes there. So these are all the new business cases that we are analyzing thanks to the big data. And as I said, these smart meters help us reduce costs. The first point is the loss in network losses. This has reduced from 5.7% to 4.1%, and this last year it was, I think, even a bit less, but around 4%, so not much less. And you might wonder how these network losses are reduced. The biggest impact has been actually the theft of electricity, basically, because or unauthorized use of electricity, as it is the correct term. So these smart meters, when they are implemented at the customer site and also in substations, then and once there is a discrepancy, meaning that the meter in a substation is saying another load compared to the one in the customer, then we get this info in less than 2 hours, and we can react. Also, the customer satisfaction has increased. And this is due to the fact that, well, before when customer only calls us when he or she has a problem. Customer doesn't call us to say that everything is going well, thank you guys. So, and the less calls the customer needs to make saying that there is a problem, the happier he or she is. And so now, thanks to these smart meters, we know that there will be an outage. So we have a system that sends the text message to customer's mobile phone saying that we know there is a problem with your electricity connection. We are working on it. We predict that finding the solution will take this or that long. And now, once we have fixed the problem, the customer will get another message saying that we have fixed your connection, everything should be working. And so the customer doesn't need to call us with this angry voice saying that, fix this. We already tell them that we know you have a problem, don't worry, we take care of it. And so you can see that we have 50% less of customer inquiries. And now, in addition to these smart meters being able to give us data about the outages or the consumption, we are also trying to come up with new ways how we can use these meters, how we can use the platforms that we have designed our own. We have actually designed and built our own customer platform where customers can sign their invoices electronically, where then they can get the consumption data, and so on. But we are still in pilot phases with many of the projects, and so we are still trying to figure out the best ways. And here you can actually then see the 3 phases of our company becoming a smart energy provider. So the first step was becoming digital. This is all the invoices, all the automated messages, and all the remote monitoring. And here I would actually point out that Estonia was the first country in EU to implement the 100% smart meters. And well, I like to joke about it that this requirement came from the EU directive. And well, we were the only ones in Europe that thought that this directive is mandatory, not a voluntary one. So this is why we implemented it, and the others are still thinking about it. So the next phase is becoming mobile. This means finding new ways how these smart meters could be used, and also the mobile app where customers can check their consumption data, sign the invoice, switch the electricity this packet that they have. You can use the phone to go from fixed price to market-based pricing. And in many countries, also in Europe, people don't realize that in Estonia, I believe also in Germany, customer can choose to have a price that differs every hour. So not just having a fixed price, not having 2 fixed prices, one for the day and one for the night. Customers can have 24 different prices every day. So every hour they can then choose how much they want to consume using the price that is coming from the market. And although this number of customers that do this is really small, because household customers really don't use that much electricity, but some who are using electrical heating or have really large households, then they are using this, and they have said that this is a good notification that you have on the app saying that you shouldn't consume right now, price is really high. And the next step is then becoming smart. This last step has been not so easy to make. We have looked at many different demand-side management business cases. We have looked at the distributed generation, different business cases, as I talked about cutting the wire to some of the customers, of implementing more storage, but and also the virtual power plant business cases. But right now, we are still trying to figure out the best way. And of course, the growth of prosumers. And actually, the prosumers are something that we as a company are trying to encourage. If there are big farms, for example, with really big roofs, and the farm owner itself isn't interested in investing into PV, for example, then we have gone to the farm saying that, look, your farm is really nicely situated. You have a lot of sun on the roof, and we would like to put our panels on there. And for return, we are willing to give you a reduced electricity price, because then you can buy the power from your own roof. And the companies are really interested in that, because they don't need to put any money down, but they get a reduced electricity price. And we are also happy because then we don't need to pay the transmission system tariff, and we get more power from renewables. And also the tariff that we ask from the customer is enough to cover what we are paying for the cost of production. So there is also a win-win situation. Here is just some awards that we have gotten for our mobile app, and you can see how it looks on the phone. And we have more than 24,000 monthly users, which again might be a small number in Germany, but I can assure you this is a really big number in Estonia, and this hasn't been easy to get. Yeah, and this slide I actually already covered. Maybe to add that this switching of the electricity seller, this is really easy. As I told you before, it is really easy to set up a electricity selling company in Estonia. And many of the people I went to school with have actually done that. They have started their own electricity selling company. Well, they are basically just merchants. They don't need to have their own generation. They need to have contracts with some of the generators. And some of them are actually also going to these prosumers that are having more PV on their roof than they need. And then they have gotten some portfolios, and they can then bring together producers and customers. And so, yes, this switching of the electricity seller is really easy. You can do it once a month. Now we are talking to the government saying that once a month might be too long time frame. We might do it twice a month, maybe once a week. The end goal being, of course, that these contracts could be changed every hour. As electricity is being sold on the market hour by hour, then, and this is everything happening automatically, then we believe that the vision should be that if 1 hour one seller has lower price than the other, then I as a customer would or should have the opportunity to switch this seller every hour. Yeah, and in the end, we believe that these contracts should be so smart that you just sign that, yes, every hour, system, please, every hour give me the lowest price, and then everything happens automatically. Maybe this will be blockchain-based, maybe not. This we don't know, but I'm quite sure that this will be the future. Now, to sum up our experience as a digital company, then we have 100% of smart meters. This has helped us reduce grid losses, and this has helped us increase the client certification. Most of our clients are only using the electronic services. We as a company don't have a physical store where a customer can go and sign the contract. Everything is happening online. Yes, and 90% or more of the contracts are signed or prolonged digitally using email or self-service. Now you wonder what is happening with the rest of the 10%. If we don't have a physical store, then how can they do it? We have contracts with the post offices, so if somebody really feels that they need to see the person in person, then they can go to the post office and then sign the contract there. And the same, more than 90% of the invoices are sent to either the email or as a text message. We actually had some of the older customers were not so happy that when we wanted to take away the paper-based invoice. Why we wanted to take it away is, of course, this is a cost. It is a cost to print it out. It is a cost to send the envelope. So the older people said that, no, we are, at first, maybe we don't want or we cannot use the computer. But then we said, do you have a mobile phone? And almost everybody in Estonia has a mobile phone. And then we said, OK, no problem. We will send you a text message that you can look on your mobile phone. Are you happy with that? Then they said, of course, yeah, sure. At least then I know where to look it, how to open it. And they were happy with getting a text message with their electricity invoice data. And then they didn't want the paper-based invoice. And the use of the app is growing year by year. But now, of course, as I've said many times, we are doing a lot of pilot projects, and we are trying to find the best way how to move on with this digital energy company. And so to visualize this, we have made these slides. I think that we have the foundation of the house of digitalization. We have the smart meters, we have the data hub, we have the big data coming in, and we are already doing some analysis with it. So we can say that the grid is sort of smart. And we have online services as well. But this is not the end goal. This is just the beginning. And we need to move forward. We need to reach the second, the third floor. But how do we get there? And then what kind of services we will offer there? This is actually the big question. And I must add here that in many of the markets that we are also active in, this that we already have done in Estonia is already fifth floor for them, because they are still just trying to figure out the right regulations, the foundation. But we have done it, so we know how to do it. And if any company is trying to figure out how to do things, or if companies have good ideas, then we have also made a conscious decision that Estonia can be used as a test lab. We have 500, 600,000 smart meters compared to New York, for example. This is nothing. This is a really small amount. And so using the whole country as a test lab might work, so that other big countries don't need to experiment on their big scale. We have made it, and we are ready to offer this service to others as well. And we have already knowledge how to avoid a lot of the mistakes. So yeah. Yeah, okay.
All right, thank you very much. Excellent. So same procedure as just before. Questions? There are microphones. Please tell us your name, where you come from, and keep it short and sweet, if possible.
And I also have the headphones if you want to speak in German.
Wenn Sie auf Deutsch fragen wollen, geht das natürlich auch. Fabian.
Thank you for your presentation. My name is Fabian Reetz from a Berlin-based think tank conducting projects with digitalization and society. I have one question. You mentioned that switching of utilities should only take hours. So in Germany, this is a process that takes up to 9 weeks in settlement. And when you want to switch on an hourly basis, that's not really possible. So how does your process and the clearing of meter data and the settlement and the background actually look like, and how did you achieve such a fast process?
Yeah, so first of all, the 1 hour switching, this is the vision for the future. Right now, this is happening once a month. Yes, and the biggest benefit that we have is this central data hub. So all the data is in one data hub that is owned by the transmission system operator. In Estonian case, what we have is this one transmission system operator. In Germany, you have at least 4, I think. Yeah. So getting to work these DSOs together, this is the first obstacle you need to clear. But I would also say that what has helped us is that we saw the customers like this. The customer wants to change every month. I would say that most of, or many of them want to switch even more often, the ones that are switching. The switching rate in Estonia is about 40% of the customers have changed. The rest, we were an incumbent utility company. Everybody was our customer. But we were happy to see that customers want to have some other seller. So this wasn't a problem for us, because we see that if we as a company are efficient, then we can be efficient with competition as well. And if we are not, then the whole society is losing because of us. And as we are a state-owned company, which I forgot to mention, we are 100% state-owned, then actually what is good for the society should be our goal as well. But to move from this 9 weeks to 4 weeks, this I think the first thing you need to change is the regulation, because most of the problems come from the regulation. What I have heard from Germany is that a lot of the problems actually come also from this data, that who owns the data, who can have access to the data. We have solved it easily, that the customer owns the data, but then the customer gives the right for the companies to look at this data, to have it, and to use it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mihkel, for your fantastic presentation. My name is René Mono from Dynamis. I have actually 2 brief questions. First of all, you briefly mentioned demand-side response. Could you say what your results are there? How big is the potential for demand-side response? And secondly, coming back to your vision of the digital house, you mentioned that you have mobile contracts in place. Do you have also a vision for smart contracts? And where would it be in the house? 3rd floor or rooftop, or where else? Thank you very much.
Thank you. So starting from the smart contracts, this of course is still many floors to go. We are testing this really small scale with university pilot project that I talked about. But this I would say is next, quite close to the top floor. So it will take a lot of time once we get there. About the demand-side management, there the story is a bit complicated, because right now the same university that we are working with, they made a study. They found that using the current technologies in Estonia, we could have maybe 1% of the peak demand that could be operating as this flexible demand-side management, so switching off or coming online as needed to. But then we said to the university, maybe you are thinking in too old-fashioned way. Maybe you are not taking into account that if needed to, then the technology could be changed. You could move from the kind of smart meters we have right now. In maybe 2 years, you can have something better that is able to switch on and off more easily. And what you are maybe also forgetting is the fact that more and more people are buying electric cars. And electric car with vehicle-to-grid option could actually have really big potential. So then we just calculated on the back of the envelope, saying that right now the most popular electric car in Estonia is the Nissan Leaf. This is cheap enough. It has a battery capacity of around 24 up to 40 kilowatt hours. And the capacity of the charging point that then can take power from the car, this capacity is around 8 kilowatts. You have 1,000 cars, this is 8 megawatts. In Estonia, 8 megawatts is already quite a considerable load. And especially speaking, if you have a part of the distribution system that only has residential customers, and maybe then is connected to the main grid only using one this substation. So to optimize this load in this part of the distribution system, you don't need many electric cars. You just need some. So I would say that there is a lot of potential there, especially once the electric cars get more and more popular. But then I think that right now in Estonia, this study said that this is still also 1 or 2 floors up.
Da hinten. Dann die Dame da vorne.
Thank you, Sabine Froning from Communication Works. You seem to be moving really, really fast, impressive speed towards a smart, highly digitalized system. But my question relates back to something that you managed in the beginning of your presentation. So what's your speed when it comes to phasing out oil, shale, and peat? What's your time perspective on that, and how are you going to do that?
Okay, thank you. And first, thank you for the compliment. As I said, that we as a company have made a decision that by 2021, we have already 40% of electricity coming from other sources. Estonia as a country has made a long-term plan that by 2030, 50% will be renewable. So 50% by 2030, some would say that this is not fast enough. I think Germany is moving more faster. But we, as people working in the energy sector in Estonia, we actually see that this change, this is not cheap. Being a really pragmatic people, we are saying that, look, we have the old assets. Let's not invest into more of them, but let's not turn them off before they have reached the end of their life. So this is what we are saying. If we could move faster as well, but we are saying that this 50% by 2030 is actually really fast, considering that 15 years ago we were maybe 5% or 5% of renewables. So already today we have made a really big jump that hasn't been too easy. So yes, this is how fast we are moving, and I think that once the technologies get more cheaper, then of course we can increase the pace. But now getting to 50% by 2030, I believe, is fast enough space for speed for Estonia.
Someone else? Noch eine Frage? I think then I'll use my privilege as a moderator to ask a question, which is thinking of recent troubles with, say, hacking, people who blackmail data and then you have to wire them 1 billion bitcoins in order to get it back, or even sort of Russian hackers. Digitalization seems more risky than we maybe thought it was. Can you say a little bit about security?
Yeah, you are totally right that the cybersecurity is one of the foundation blocks of moving to e-based services, to data-based energy system. But there is actually a lot that we as people working for the companies or we as citizens can do to avoid these attacks. And also the companies need to have policies in place so that the SCADA systems, for example, are safe enough. But before, as you said, I worked for the World Energy Council, and the World Energy Council made a really nice study about cybersecurity. And then they listed a number of cyber attacks. And for me, the biggest surprise was that 2 of the big attacks on utility companies were carried out in a way that the attackers left USB sticks in the parking lot. So the company employees saw, oh, USB stick. They picked it up, went to sit down at their desk and plugged the USB stick into the company computer. And this is how 2 of the really big cyber attacks were initiated, because the hackers otherwise didn't have access to the company system. But once the employee plugged the stick into the system, then the hackers had the access. So avoiding this kind of attack would have been really easy if there would have been place company-wide policy that no unauthorized USB sticks can be used in the system. Well, some attacks are, of course, more advanced, use more advanced technologies, but some of them can be avoided. Others then are just part of the life. So the first one is avoiding the attack, but then the other one is being prepared that attacks do happen, hacks do happen, but once they happen, then you have in place the policy how you act. You have in place all the necessary backups. One of my friends has a IT company, and he also was target of this attack that the attacker said, we have your data. They couldn't use it because this was encrypted. But they said that if you want to get it back, then you need to pay us. Fortunately for my friend, he had in place a backup system every hour, so he didn't care. So having all these policies, necessary policies in place, this will help us keep secure. And I will also mention that in Estonia we have the NATO Cybersecurity Center, and so people are working on making these new systems safe.
Thank you. Anyone else? I feel that lunch is approaching and we all might be hungry. So thank you very much, Mihkel.
Thank you.